Channeling session, the 17th of June 2018. Channelers, Elegon and Isaac. Questioner, Gary channeled entity, Ra. Question 1, show me the answer for yes. Answer, Ra, Isaac, and I. Question 2, show me the answer for no. Answer, Ra, Isaac. I see an image of two people's heads juxtaposed and can see their brains inside their heads connected together by a line. Additional images seen besides the answers for yes and no are Ra equals wind, Isis equals earth, Thoth equals fire, Sobek equals water. Question 3, on June 13, 2018, Wednesday morning, Gary experienced leaving his body and was floating around in darkness. But it seemed as though he was in his room as he could feel his feet brushing up against his Christmas tree. If Gary were to give this place, dimension, plane a name, what would it be? Answer, Ra, Elegon, your room in 4D. A portal opened in your room that lead to 4D. Ra, Isaac, not 4D, 5D. Sit on 4, if given a name, what aspect of Gary's spirit, mind, body complex was Gary's consciousness in during that time, that is, emotional, astral, or physical body? Answer, Ra, Elegon, OBE body. Question 4a, do you mean astral body? Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes. Ra, Isaac, yes, astral body. A white beam on Gary's body caused it to lift, but then his body fell back down. Question 5. He heard a digital sound in his head. Why did this happen? Answer, Ra, Elegon, the digital sounds were distractions. Ra, Isaac, trying to adjust the frequency from 5D to Gary's transmission realm. Question 5a, so the sounds heard were communications being established. Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes, a few of the sounds. Question 6. He heard voices calling his name. Who were they coming from? Answer, Ra, Elegon, from a fifth dimensional base operated by Argonians, lizard people that are lost and seek a life form for energy. Channeling interrupted. Isaac scanned Elegon's heart using his third eye and saw a grey alien inside it. So Isaac called on the Ra family to proceed with the removal of this problem. Isaac, a grey alien, was posing as Ra and had infiltrated Elegon's heart space. Ra, Isis, and Thoth then proceeded to subdue the grey aliens by placing Egyptian sigils above the Greys' heads to possess them. Question, do parasites in Elegon's body affect his answers? Answer, Ra, Elegon, no. Channeling continued. Question 7, who was the entity with the feline voice with a quasi-Russian accent? Answer, Ra, Elegon, a reptilian named Derba. Ra, Isaac, Alexandra. She has a round face, short wavy, dirty blonde hair, and hazel eyes. She's a wanderer. Question 8, was she trying to help Gary? Answer, Ra, Elegon, no. Ra, Isaac, yes. Question 9, who was the boy speaking to me? Answer, Ra, Elegon, glowing species, GP equals glowing people. He sound like a boy, and his name is Billy. Question 10, why was the boy in a hurry? Answer, Ra, Elegon, a radio tower transmitting a signal to my brain was being broken by reptilians. He was trying to deal with that issue. Ra, Isaac, the Greys were on to him. Question 10a, Isis, who were the entities whose voices I heard talking to me? Answer, Ra, Elegon, two species were communicating. A glowing species, who are like helpers, and lizard-like beings. Question 11, the woman's voice said that I had figured it out, then said the word tree. What did I figure out? Answer, Ra, Elegon, the tree element helps activate the third eye. Ra, Isaac, going through densities. Questions 12, was she also referring to the turpentine oil I've been taking when she said tree? Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes. Ra, Isaac, yes. Question 13, I told the boy that I had urinary problems, then he responded by saying 5 and 6. Then I felt someone electrifying my spine up and down with some sort of instrument. Could you explain what was going on at that moment? Answer, Ra, Elegon, helping remove blockages and implanting some metals that aid to help block out other things. Ra, Isaac, we the Ra family wouldn't use such primitive technology. An image of a needle piercing Gary's spine being injected with some kind of liquid substance. Question 13a, did the injection benefit Gary? Answer, Ra, Isaac, no. Question 13b, who injected me? Answer, Ra, Isaac, another Gray. Question 13c, when the boy mentioned 5 and 6 meters, was he referring to chakras? Answer, Ra, Isaac, yes. Question 13d, did he fix my chakras problems? Answer, Ra, Isaac, no. Question 14, I left my body by breathing in air and the force, aka pranichi, in through the upper back of my head. Is this what helped me come out of my body, and is this what the woman meant, whose voice I heard, when she said that I had figured it out? Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes. This breathing technique can help you leave your body, but it wasn't what she meant about figuring it out. Ra, Isaac, yes. Question 15. I noticed that out-of-body experience happened early in the morning. Does this energy breath work technique work better in the morning? Answer, Ra, Elegon, it depends on how clean your body is, not time. Ra, Isaac, morning at 7 a.m. Question 16, would you please show me all the steps Gary took to leave his body that day? Answer, Ra, Elegon, breathing from the back of his head technique. Having a blank mind. Focusing, letting go of everything. Pyramid energy technique should also be done as suggestion. Ra, Isaac, an image of a person drinking some liquid meditating in lotus position with a circle of candles or other type of flame around him and Gary facing north. Question 16a, what is the liquid? Answer, Ra, Isaac, turpentine. Question 17, does praying or calling it out for help work? Tomb. Before these steps? Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes. Ra, Isaac, yes. Call Ra, Thoth, Isis, Sobek, and Osiris. Question 18. Why did no one answer me when I asked if they were Greys during my out-of-body experience? Answer, Ra, Elegon, an image of radio towers. They could speak to you, but couldn't hear you. Ra, Isaac, because the Greys took over control of the communications link. Question 19. When I left my body, I decided to let go of my emotions and remain silent in the darkness. Does this method help your contact with me because the Greys won't be able to notice our transmission very well? Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes. Ra, Isaac, yes. Question 20. Do non-plays character NPCs exist in our 3D reality? Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes. Question 20a. Is Isaac's girlfriend an NPC? Answer, Ra, Elegon, yes. Question 21. In the future, how do I know if the Greys weren't the ones communicating with me whenever I use the technique again? Answer, Ra, Elegon, use your third eye to see through the bodies of the entities speaking to you. If their bodies are black inside once scanned, then they're bad. If their bodies are gold or white inside, then they're good. Ra, Isaac, if you feel probing occurring in your body, then it's the Greys. Question 22. What's the pulsing sensation in Gary's forehead recently? Answer, Ra, Elegon, symptoms of third eye activation. Question 23. What direction should I be facing whenever performing the energy pyramid technique? Answer, Ra, Isaac, north. Question 24. Do you have any further comments for us at this time? Answer, Ra, Elegon, have a talk with your brother about his relationships. Ra, Isaac, an image of a sigil for Osiris appears.
Good light, and welcome to the second half of this video, where I give you a more in-depth interpretation of today's channeling session. But first, a caveat. That is, can we actually trust the channeled information from these channeled entities to be reliable? Well, the simple and yet seemingly complicated answer to that is a yes and a no, and a resounding it depends. It depends on the motivations of these entities that we're channeling, whether or not they're actually benevolent or malevolent. Another thing we have to consider are the thought patterns and belief systems of the channelers involved. That is, for example, if a channeler is constantly feeding his mind with video games, Netflix, news, TV, it will have a direct impact on the kind of answers he or she is going to get during the channeling session. Also, their belief system, also known as BS, bullshit, is the religious dogma they were indoctrinated in when they came into this world. That will also have a bearing on their responses. And finally, there's interference. And what I mean by interference, I'm talking about otherworldly interference, other entities interfering. A lot of times, these entities specifically graze what we sometimes call SGs, abbreviated for small grays, because of the smaller ones that we've seen. They're the culprits who are usually involved in most of the interference we've had throughout our sessions. Also, I just want to note that many YouTubers who are channelers tend to not use discernment in their own channeling, and they take whatever information they get as the holy gospel. And that's where my channeling group extremely differ. In fact, both of the channelers I work with have told me sometimes they think it's bullshit. And you know what? I agree with them. But not everything. There's always going to be nuggets in truth scattered throughout any discipline, any belief system, or what have you. What I also want to say is that what separates our channeling from others you'll find online is that, as far as I know, to my knowledge, we are the first ones that are actually using two channelers simultaneously. Why do I do this? I do this for reliability and accuracy. If you have both channelers, I'm asking them the same question, it gives me an overall clear picture of whether or not this channeling is actually truthful or it's bullshit, pretty much. So having said that, let's now get into today's video and commentary. So, as mentioned before, this channeling session was done on June 17, 2018. The two channelers involved were my brother Isaac and my son Elegon. And of course, I'm the questioner, Gary, and the entity we channeled was Ra. And who is Ra? Well, the Ra that we communicate with is what people associate as a deity in ancient Egypt, the entity or being with the body of a man, the head of a bird, pretty much. So it starts off with question 1. And usually question 1 and question 2 are basically go like this: show me the answer for yes, show me the answer for no. And the reason we do this is when we first started channeling Ra many, many years ago, we'd ask him a question. He kept showing us this random images. So we'd ask him to clarify, and he'd give us more random images. So it just confused us. So I developed a system where I would say, okay, show me the answer for yes, and he'll show us an image of an apple, for example. Show me the answer for no. Then he'll show us an image of a banana. Then if I ask a question and he shows us an image, I will try to figure out or decipher the symbolism and then tell him my opinion and say, is my thinking correct, yes or no? And if it's a yes, he'd show it up an apple. If it's no, he would show it a banana. And often what I found out was that I always had these questions prepared beforehand. And the channelers didn't even know what the questions were until I actually read them out loud to them during the sessions. These beings were, like Ra, for example, they will often answer the questions in their answers for yes or no. That is, it's encoded in those symbols. Okay, so without further ado, let's get to question 1 here. So question 1 asks, show me the answer for yes. And my brother Isaac was shown, I believe, an I. Okay. And what does that mean? Okay. Now you're going to find later on in the challenge session that we had some serious interference by gray aliens. And I believe the I here meant that something is watching us. Okay. Now let's go to question number 2. Show me the answer for no. My brother's response from Ra was, my brother said he saw an image of 2 people's heads next to each other and a line interconnecting them two. So their brains were connected pretty much. Now, then he saw other images, like he says Ra equals wind, Isis equals earth, Thoth equals fire, Sopek equals water. I think that's irrelevant, or maybe it was relevant, I don't know. But I don't really know what that means. But going back to the 2 heads he saw. Now, that symbolizes a communication, a link between 2 people. And I don't remember during this challenge session, because it was done quite a few years ago, if it was a technique I do whenever I challenge my brother, because he's actually in another country right now. Well, I should say I'm the one who's living in another country. I'm living abroad in Asia somewhere. And my brother is back home in America. So I do sort of a technique. It's kind of similar to, if you ever watched Star Trek, the Vulcan mind meld, something like that. Okay. Maybe he's just showing us a technique, the answer for no. As for Ra equals wind, Isis equals earth, Thoth equals fire, Sopek equals water, I really don't know what to say about this. And what I mean is that in many different disciplines or belief systems or magical practices, whether you come from the Wiccan camp, the Necronomicon camp, the left-hand path camp, the right-hand path camp, the whatever camp, these 4 directions and their corresponding elements are going to differ. And I really don't think it matters. I think it depends on the person. So for this challenge purpose, you can disregard this part. Okay, so we start getting to the questions on question number 3. And here I'm basically describing what happened to me on June 13th, 2018, during my out-of-body experience. And I'm pretty much asking where my body was. Was it in another dimension, another place? Where? A dream state? And so Elegon, his answer is my bedroom in 4D, the 4th density or dimension. Then he says a portal opened in your room that led to 4D. Okay. Isaac's answer from Ra, he disagreed. He said no, it was in 4D. Sorry, it was in 5D, not 4D. So already their answers are slightly different. I don't really care if it's 4D or 5D, and I will tell you my personal opinion where I was in. Because towards the end of that experience, I was in darkness. And I know I was somewhere. And later on, I don't want to jump ahead, but later on, my brother mentions my body lifts in the air. I think he means astral body, then it drops down. What I think would happen was that my body went up to the 4th density and then up to the 5th density, but then it kind of dropped to the 4th density. And that makes sense to me that I actually made the connection in 5D. I was still connected with the 5th density. Otherwise, I wouldn't be communicating with those entities. And then the grays interfered later on. And as soon as they interfered, I dropped down to density into like a dream state. And then my physical body. So basically, I just feel that I was in 4D because usually I think that's where the grays interfere is in 4D. They can probably interfere in higher dimensions, but from my experience, it seems like 4D. Okay. Now, question number 4, I start just asking them pretty much what part of my body, what aspect of it was I in at that time. And I was wondering if it's because we have various bodies. Was it the emotional body, my physical body, my astral body, my etheric body? And pretty much both their answers agree. It's my astral body or OBE body, whatever you want to call it. Now, when you go to question number 5, it says, I had heard a digital sound in my head and I was asking what was happening. And Elegon's answer was they were just digital sounds and they were distractions. So they were distractions. And according to Isaac's answer, he says, well, it was just what you were hearing was an adjustment to the frequency bandwidth of 5D that you were adjusting to. So, I mean, I think they pretty much meant the same thing, but Elegon put an emphasis on distractions. I really, here I'm going to go with my brother's response, that it was just the sound you hear when you're crossing densities or dimensions. And it was a literal transmission being made. And so then question 5A basically says, so the sounds heard were communications being established. I'm just asking for confirmation. And then Elegon actually says, yes, a few of the sounds, so some of them. And I actually do agree with him here because not only did I hear a digital sound, but I also heard millions, if not more, voices in my head. So maybe those were the distractions he was referring to as well. Okay, question number 6. He says he heard voices calling his name. Who were they coming from? So Elegon's answer was they were coming from the 5D, the fifth dimensional they were coming from a fifth dimensional base operated by Argonians, lizard people that are lost and seek a life form for energy. Okay, so remember I was telling you earlier how whatever stimulus is in the channeler's mind will affect their answers. In this case, my brother is an avid gamer. My son games sometimes. I play games sometimes too. One of our favorite games is a game called Skyrim. So my son doesn't actually know what a reptilian is, but I believe he's referring to reptilians. If you ever played the game Skyrim, there's a race of beings called Argonians, which are reptilians, basically. So he says that they're actually looking for a life form, for energy. Okay. I do agree with that. I do agree that there's some entities like reptilians and other ones, maybe grays, they feed off our loosh, our energy, our prana chi, the force within us. However, in this session, I don't think they were doing that because they do it 24/7. Okay. What I mean is that they usually won't do it when I'm aware of it. They usually do it when you're unaware. And they usually do it via your emotional state. At that point, the channeling gets interrupted. And my brother notices, and even I notice my son's channeling was a little bit off during this session. And so pretty much what happens is my brother scans with his third eye my son's heart space. And he sees a gray alien inside it. So what my brother does is he pretty much invokes or calls the Ra family. The Ra family is basically all those Egyptian pantheon pretty much, who we've worked with. Ra, Sobek, Isis, Thoth, and they actually help us remove them. Okay, now this is another reason why I have two channelers, is that if one of them has any kind of interference or any form of possession, the other one can spot it and help him remove it. Now, I don't think that my brother was, well, that's a good question. I'm not sure if the entity was completely removed, because you'll start seeing that throughout the channeling, Elegon's answers still tend to deviate from Isaac's. So I really don't know what happened there. It could be something else in Elegon as well that Isaac couldn't remove. So I'll just continue on. Okay, so then, keep in mind that I even asked during that time, I asked Elegon, do parasites in Elegon's body affect his answers? And by parasites, I mean like physical parasites that you get from food stuff, interaction with people. And I'm not kind of like hating on all parasites, because I do realize that there's some beneficial parasites in your body as well. For example, when a person dies, there's these parasites that activate and decompose your body, so you're recycled back into the earth. Like, there's nothing evil about that. But I'm talking about the ones that shouldn't be in your body, that cause dis-ease and other ailments. And Elegon's answer is no. So that's pretty obvious that the entity is speaking through him. And it's funny because the entity was found in his heart space. You do not want to let any channeled entity into your heart space. And that's where all the religious people fail to recognize that they're being manipulated emotionally most of the time through the very gods and deities they're praying to. Oh, and keep in mind that we don't worship these beings, and they never told us to worship them. In fact, if anything, they say we're equal to them, or even more than them, more than what they are. And some claim that we are them, but that's a topic for a different video. Okay, so I'm going to continue. The challenge continued. On question number 7, who was the entity with the feline voice with the quasi-Russian accent? Okay, so when I heard her voice, it sounded Russian, and yet it didn't. And it wasn't until I started to think about it that it started to sound feline. And as you can see here, both Elegon's and Isaac's responses are different. So according to Elegon, he's really insistent on the reptilians. He says it was a reptilian named Derba. And then Isaac says, no, her name was Alexandra, and she has a round face, short, wavy, dirty blonde hair, and hazel eyes. She's a wanderer. A wanderer, if you don't know, is basically a person, not really a person, a consciousness that doesn't come originally from this 3D world we live in right now. It comes from somewhere usually higher. So you go into question number 8, and it says, was she trying to help Gary? And Elegon says no, Isaac says yes. See, their answer is different again. And here I'm betting that Isaac's answer was correct, because I was the one going through the experience, not them. And I actually felt, I can trust these beings. Even though I earlier said don't let them in your heart space, I didn't let these beings in my heart space. I was out of my body. There was nothing related to my heart at that point. And Elegon had already been pretty much infected by whatever being that was inside of him, and he's already giving my Elegon wrong answers just to confuse us. Question 9, who is the boy speaking to me? Well, according to Elegon, he says a glowing species. GP equals glowing people. He sounded like a boy, and his name is Billy. Okay. So what's funny here is I'm trying to remember the experience. And I almost want to say the boy did say his name was Billy. but I really don't remember. That could be a false memory, I don't know. So right there, I'm already confused because Elegon, okay, he just says there's a glowing species, right? Okay, I'll leave it at that. But earlier, okay, I see. So there's two different groups. There's a boy and there's a girl. Okay, and so he's referring to the boy. So he's convinced that the female voice was actually some evil entity, nefarious being. And when he says glowing, that obviously means good. So the boy's good. Question 10. Why was the boy in a hurry? Okay. Elegon's response was, he saw an image of a radio tower transmitting a signal to my brain, and it was being broken by reptilians. Okay. And he was trying to deal with that issue. So it's basically he was trying to fix the problem, fix the connection. The boy was. And Isaac's response says that the Greys were onto him. So they both agreed there was some kind of interference. However, they disagree on who was doing the interfering. Elegon is still insistent it was reptilians. Isaac's insistent it's on the Greys. I still think it was Greys. Okay. Question 10a. I'm kind of annoyed at this point, so I call out to Isis, and I say, Isis, who are the entities whose voices I heard talking to me? Elegon's answer, he says, again, two species were communicating. One was a glowing species. He says they were kind of like helpers. The other beings were the lizard-like beings. Okay. And this question 10a was for Elegon. Question 11. The woman's voice said that I had figured out, then said the word tree. What did I figure out? Okay, so Elegon's answer was the tree element helps activate the third eye, and Isaac's was going through densities. Now, I think both these answers are right, and I think there's even one more. But basically, the tree element has to do with turpentine oil, which is actually related to question number 12. And I was doing a special technique and facing north that morning when I had this experience. My head was facing north. So I did figure out how to go through densities because I actually did go through different densities. So in this case, I think they're both right. So moving on to question 12. Was she also referring to the turpentine oil I've been taking when she said tree? And this, they both agree. They say yes. Okay. I want to say that there was something else. I think there was another answer to this. This is why the Greys tried so hard to interfere. I believe, before I go any further, I just want to mention that if you don't know what turpentine is basically pine tree oil. It's very controversial. It kills parasites, candida, bacteria in your body. I've tried it. It's very powerful. I take small doses. I don't take it daily. I take it on and off every few months. It has helped a little bit, but I haven't taken enough to tell you that, wow, it's done wonders. At that time, before I had the experience, I had just learned about some YouTube channel called Beyond the Veil, and its host, his name is Chris Gio, talks about taking a special plant medicine called the Acacia confucia. And I believe, later on I find out, this is my intuition. When she meant tree, the feline voice, she was referring to this specifically, but also the turpentine and other things, right? But this is the main thing that I figured out. The Acacia confucia is what I figured out. Figured out, what do you mean figure out? Figure out how to basically go through all the veils. So you go to, where were we? Okay, so question number 13. I told the boy that I had urinary problems, and he responded by saying 5 and 6. Then I felt someone electrifying my spine up and down with some sort of instrument. Could you explain what was going on at that moment? So, okay, What I meant here is what was going on was um, I had asked the boy like, "Hey, I have some urinary problems," and he really couldn't hear me because of connection, and I had to repeat it over. And he goes, "Oh, 5 and 6." I believe he was referring to the chakras, 5 and 6, and I think he was trying to fix it, but I don't think he got a chance to. Right at that moment, he had to go, and that's when the interference came. Not in the channeling. This is actually during my out of body experience, and I did feel some type of instrument put in my spine. And it was basically being moved by someone up and down my spine. Okay, so Elegant's answer was this was being used to help remove blockages and implants and some metals that aid to help. Oh, and so they're using it to remove some blockages, right? And they were also implanting some metals that aid to help block out other things. That's bullshit. Implanting something to block out something? I don't think so. So his answer is completely wrong, because I didn't feel better after that. I still had a urinary problem. And according to Isaac's answer, he said, we, the Raw family, wouldn't use such primitive technology. And he saw an image of a needle piercing my spine, and I was being injected with some sort of substance. And I thought that was interesting, because these entities called the Raw family, they don't need technology. They are so powerful at a certain point in this matrix that those grays can't even hold a candle to them. That's why they're just like, haha, we wouldn't use such primitive technology. We don't need to do something like that. Okay, question 13A. Did the injection benefit Gary? And Isaac said, obviously no. Okay. Now this question was directed to Isaac. This also question 13B is also for Isaac. Who injected me? And Isaac said, another gray. And then question 13C, when the boy mentioned 5 and 6, was he referring to chakras? And Isaac confirms it by saying yes. And then question 13D, did he fix my chakra problems? And Isaac said no, and he's correct about that. Okay, moving on to question 14. I left my body from breathing in the air and the force, aka prana chi, in through the upper back of my head. Is this what helped me come out of my body? And is this what the woman meant, whose voice I heard when she said I had figured it out? Okay, so here I want to know if she meant more than tree, which said I figured it out. And Elegant's answer was yes, the breathing technique can help you leave your body. But it wasn't what she meant about figuring it out. I kind of agree with Elegant here. And Isaac says yes. So they're pretty much on the same page. Next question, 15. I noticed that the out-of-body experience happened early in the morning. Does this energy breathwork technique work better in the morning? Elegant's answer was it depends on how clean your body is, not time. And then Isaac says morning time at 7 a.m. Again, both their answers are correct here, because I've confirmed both. I've done both. I've experienced both. Sometimes in the channeling, when they do agree, but they give different answers, what it is that both channelers are given two parts. So for example, like, let's say the information is a little bit long, the answer is pretty long. Well, they'll give one half to one channel and the second half of the answer to the second channeler, I guess for efficiency. So yeah, I've noticed that if you've ever read any of Robert Monroe's books, or was it Robert Bruce? He does energy work. I think it was Robert Monroe. He mentions that the time when the best time to come out of your body is early in the morning. And the more clean your body is, that is if it's in a fasted state, you can come out anytime, according to Elegant. I agree with that too. So they're both right. Question 16. Would you please show me all the steps Gary took to leave his body that day? Well, Elegant's answer was breathing from the back of his head technique, having a blank mind, and focusing, letting go of everything, using the energy pyramid pyramid technique would also be suggested. Isaac's answer was an image of a person drinking some liquid, meditating in lotus position with a circle of candles or other types of flame around him, and facing north. I don't want to get too much into these techniques. I haven't really tried some of these, but I did try the energy pyramid technique. I'm not going to get into that because that was mentioned in a previous channeling. Maybe I'll add another video related to energy work for that, but basically you're just creating an energetic pyramids and running them up and down your body. Very similar to, if you ever read Robert Bruce's book called Astral Dynamics, where you just move energy up and down your body. But this is a little bit more advanced because you're actually shaping the energy into a pyramid. And as far as the liquid, that's question 16a. I don't know what it is. So question 16a asks this question to Isaac, what is the liquid? And then Isaac answers turpentine. He could be right, but you know what? It's really hard to meditate right after I've taken turpentine because you get massive detox symptoms. I'm in no state to actually meditate and focus. So I have yet to try that. Question 17. Well, before I go to question 17, I think I have tried, but usually it's really difficult. The times I have taken turpentine, but I'll take note of this and I'll try it again. I guess I have to get to a point where my body is so clean that the turpentine doesn't give me so many detox effects, or I should say die-off side effects from the parasites dying. Question 17. Does praying or calling out for help to before these or during these steps work? Do they also work? Okay, yeah, so Elegant says yes, and Isaac says yes. He says you call Ra, Thoth, Isis, and Sobek, and Osiris. He adds Osiris to this channeling session. That's interesting. That's pretty self-explanatory. Question 18, why did no one answer me when I asked if they were grays during my out-of-body experience? Oh yeah, because during that experience, it was a part where I had actually heard, I think I had asked the gray, when someone was probing me, I asked, are you grays? And I don't think I got a response. So according to this channeling, Elegant says, an image of radio tellers. They could speak to you but couldn't hear you. Okay, so they couldn't hear my question. That's why I didn't answer. He could be right. According to Isaac's answer, because the Greys took over control of the communication link. Yeah, so the communication link was the problem here. Question 19. When I left my body, I decided to let go of my emotions and remain silent in the darkness. Does this method help you contact with me? Because the Greys won't be able to notice our transmission very well. Yeah, so what I'm asking here is, I was in a really relaxed state and I kind of didn't think about anything. I just kind of let go of everything. My mind was blank. I just surrendered to the experience, and I was asking, does this actually help establish a better transmission in communication? And both channelers agree. They both say yes. Okay, question number 20. Do non-player character NPCs exist in our 3D reality? Okay, if you don't know what an NPC is, an NPC, I'm not talking about the political term, which is non-player character. I'm going by a word that was coined by Chris Geo from Beyond the Veil. Before he said it though, I've always felt that most of the people around me fall into this category. I just never could put it into a word. And Chris had the perfect word for it. It basically stands for non-player consciousness. So what he means is they're just programs. If you believe in the simulation theory that we're actually in a computer program, then this would make sense to you. So I'm confirming, is this actually true? Are there actually NPCs in this 3D time-space reality? And Elegon answers yes. Question 20A. I guess these questions are for Elegon. Is Isaac's girlfriend an NPC? And Elegon's answer is yes. Okay, question 21. In the future, how do I know if the Greys aren't the ones communicating with me whenever I use the technique again? So how can I make sure that the Greys are not interfering? And Elegon's response is, use your third eye to see through the bodies of the entities speaking to you. If their bodies are black inside, once you scan them, then they're bad. If their bodies are gold or white inside, then they're good. Okay, and Isaac's answer is, if you feel probing occur in your body, then it's the Greys. This is my thoughts on this is that, according to Elegon's response, my third eye isn't quite open, so I can't really do that. I can't actually... Well, I take that back. I should just open my eyes in the experience. Maybe that's what he meant. But as like in real time, my third eye is not open. However, I'm very empathic. I can really feel things around me. But in that situation in 4D, it was weird because I really didn't feel anything. I can't explain that. What I mean by feel is usually I can feel the intention of beings. Like if there's a dark entity, I can actually feel its dark presence. But this time I couldn't. That doesn't mean that the Greys were good in this situation either. Maybe they have some tech they're using on me that prevents me from feeling. And then Isaac's response says, if you feel probing occur in your body, then it's the Greys. I have to agree and disagree with both these answers because, yeah, I agree that why would they be so intrusive? A benevolent being wouldn't just grab you like that, especially Raw. He's not the lovey-touchy kind. He's actually pretty stoic and serious. He's not the kind of guy who would just walk up to you and shake your hand and hug you. So, but this wasn't Raw, though. I don't know who this was, these beings I was talking to. So I really don't know. But I do know that I have had experiences when I came out of my body and I couldn't see them, and they were actually helping me, like fixing my body. So this is one of those questions. I mean, this is one of those questions that I still can't answer to this day. So it depends on the situation. Okay, question 22. What's the pulsing sensation in Gary's forehead recently? Yeah, because I was feeling a lot of pressure in my forehead area. And according to Elegon's answer, he said there were symptoms of third eye activation. Possibly, but my third eye is still not open. Question 23. What direction should I be facing whenever performing the energy pyramid technique? Isaac's response was north. That makes sense. And finally, question 24, I asked the Raw family or Raw, do you have any further comments for us at this time? Now, Elegon's answer is, have a talk with your brother about his relationships. And Isaac, he sees an image, the sigil for Osiris appears. That's funny. I never actually worked with Osiris. Maybe I should give it a try. I think we did channel him once, and I will record it again in a future video. So, as far as my brother and his relationships, that's a rather personal topic, so I'm not going to discuss that here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for the commentary on this channeling session. Take what you will from it. If some of it resonates with you, then it resonates with you. If some of it doesn't resonate with you, well, then obviously it doesn't. What we're doing here is we're just basically making a record of our experiences with channeling, magic, out-of-body experiences, lucid dreams, dream interpretation, synchronicity, scene 1111, plant medicine, and what have you. So until next time, good light.